What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Lolise and we are doing our Vanderpump Rules recap. This recap came a little later than I wanted it to because there was a lot of stuff to go over and compile for this, including Tom Sandoval's first public speaking besides talking to paparazzi. But before we jump into all of that, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And please don't send anybody that we talk about in this video any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I'm seeing play out in the world of the internet and reality TV. So if you have something to say about what we were talking about, shoot it down in the comments below. That's what they are there for. I don't know why I went with that sing-song voice, but I also got 2 drinks down here ready to go today, and you know I got my pink Power Ranger notebook. Where do we begin? Well, you know what, I'm just gonna start with all the basic rumors that kind of were floating around for a little bit, and then we have a couple honorable mention appearances on podcasts and Watch What Happens Live. So a small little rumor that popped up, and I don't want to say small to minimize any potential damage this could have done, but there was a rumor that Raquel had also hooked up with Brock, because we know Raquel did stay at Scheana's quite a bit, and I mean there would be access there, but myself personally, though I don't know any of these people, I just don't see it. Scheana and Brock seem very happy. Brock seems super in love with his entire family. I don't buy it. I don't see it. I feel like it's just something that people are scraping together. So that was a particular rumor that came out. Another rumor that came out was that Ariana is in talks with joining Dancing with the Stars. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have not seen any official confirmation. I have just seen it from things like TMZ and stuff like that. It just says a show insider. The first place I heard this was on Behind the Velvet Rope, and then a day later, everybody's picked this up and is talking about this, so I don't really know if it's true, if she's gonna be on Dancing with the Stars or not. However, you know, Lisa has been on Dancing with the Stars, but I think honestly she would be a great addition. This is the perfect time. She also had a photo shoot with, I don't remember if it was Nordstrom's or what, but I'll put it here, for another iconic red revenge dress. She looks phenomenal. This is gonna be her signature thing now. So Ariana is pretty much thriving. She's dropped 170-ish pounds of dead weight, and her career is just soaring. I honestly think that the breakup with Tom Sandoval was probably the best thing that's ever happened to her career, even though it is pretty soul-crushing in the moment. She will definitely move on and heal. And other little small news before we get into this whole podcast interview that Tom Sandoval did with Howie Mandel and Howie's daughter, I think he called her Jackie, or I think her name is Jacqueline. There was a announcement or a statement or a rumor that Raquel had actually checked herself voluntarily into a mental health facility, that it was a rehab, but she wasn't going in for substance abuse. And this was confirmed by her PR from every source that I heard this from. Well, then a couple hours later, it came out that the facility that she's going to is actually not, in fact, a mental health facility in any way, shape, or form. It is a wellness retreat, and it is a very well-known wellness retreat in California. In a season of Real Housewives of Orange County, the women went to this retreat and played with some gongs and singing bowls and stuff like that, which it all actually sounded really cool, and I think they had really nice facials there too. But it's not a mental health facility. This is a place where you go and do yoga to relax, do sound baths, maybe go ride horses, get spa treatments. It's not a rehab or a mental health facility. There's no medical professionals, and there's not any kind of licensed therapist there whatsoever, unless maybe they're vacationing too, but they're not employed by the place. And to top it off, it's also being speculated or rumored, allegedly, that Sandoval will be joining her at this wellness retreat. So this whole thing being put out that it was a, mental health facility, it did pull out a lot of people's, consciousnesses. Maybe we're all being too hard on her. And when I heard that, I thought, well, I understand. Maybe she is getting a lot of hate. I'm sure, people are sending her death threats and stuff, which I definitely 100% don't condone that. Nobody needs to die over this. The vitriol that we do see on the internet, not even just in this situation, but in a lot of situations, I'm sure can be extremely overwhelming. But it does appear that that was just some sort of PR stunt, though. She tried to spin it in a way that made people like feel sympathy for her, but that sympathy didn't even last several hours. This was reported on like People and Time Magazine, well, not Time, but TMZ. Can you imagine Time Magazine talking about all of this? Well, CNN did talk about this, and apparently Tom Sandoval found that crazy. Anyway, that's all the like little random drama that I remember just kind of off the top of my head. I want to get into this podcast. Actually, no, I don't want to get into the podcast yet. I actually wanted to get into Lala appeared on Watch What Happens Live after this week's episode. There's no like real spoilers in this because, I mean, to be honest, really this past week's episode was all about Scheana's wedding and the fact that Schwartz and Raquel kissed. That's basically the episode. So Lala had a few things to say about this. She does think that Raquel is in love with Sandoval, but Sandoval is not actually really in love with Raquel because he doesn't really know what like actual feelings of real love are. He just kind of knows what endorphins and things feel like. She said that she became suspicious in August, which is actually when Sandoval said that this all really started. The other guest is Jillian Jacobs, who like I adore, and she was perfect for this because she was able to ask so many follow-up questions to what Andy's questions were. She asked Lala, you said that Raquel always triggered you. What was it about Raquel that always triggered you? And basically Lala says she was triggered because she had a hard time reading Raquel. I'm kind of like, paraphrasing, putting my own spin on this. Like, she couldn't figure out what the motives for her actions were. Lala did also say that her mother warned her and said that girl moves like a snake. Lala also didn't think that they would have really come forward and been honest if all of this hadn't happened. And then Andy asked a question, I believe this was from a viewer. They said, during the affair, was Raquel still acting like she was Ariana's best friend, or did she kind of like pull back, stay away? And Lala says, you guys are going to die from the last episode. And Andy 100% agrees with her. They both discuss very briefly a conversation that Raquel and Ariana had face to face, where Raquel is looking her in the eyes, and whatever the demeanor is, whatever she's saying, they both agreed that it was sick and disgusting knowing that she's hooking up with her best friend's boyfriend, that she could look Ariana in the eyes and have the conversation that she was having with her. And Andy does also say that he asks her about that in their one-on-one, and then they like go to commercial, so we get no more information about it, but he did say it was very upsetting. Andy does also say that starting this coming week, we are going to start to see a lot more clues of the affair popping up, because I guess that's around the time that this is all really starting. Like, they just weren't hiding it. Sandoval does say in the Howie Mandel podcast that he wasn't trying especially hard to hide it. It's just that Ariana was choosing to ignore it or turn a blind eye to it. Essentially just like blaming her for letting him get away with cheating with Raquel. So then the funny thing was about the episode of Watch What Happens Live, the word of the night for the drinking game was Raquel. They said it over 30 times, so anybody who played that was bombed. And the mazel of the day, which is always like a praise in the episode, was Scheana, because Scheana actually had Raquel as a bridesmaid in the wedding, but she didn't want Raquel to be a bridesmaid, so she actually photoshopped Lala's head onto her wedding photos. Iconic. That's totally amazing. Oh, and there was actually one other bit of little tiny drama. I totally forgot about this. We did talk about how Tom had told his mom about Raquel. Well, it seems he actually took her home after Christmas before New Year's, tried to introduce her to everybody in the family and possibly his friends, and there are reports that literally everybody in his life completely rejected her. I think TMZ is the one that actually posted photographic evidence that they were in his hometown. I think he lives in his hometown of St. Louis. Is he from the same town Andy Cohen's from? And it was dated December 29th. So I mean, what did he expect? Did they really expect like for him to be bringing his side piece home and his mom to be like accepting with open arms and his friends to be like, well, what the heck? We love Ariana. You're just gonna openly cheat on her and bring this girl home and think we're gonna be okay with it? The audacity. I can't believe this. Sometimes I'm just like, the like balls on Sandoval to pull some of the stuff and say some of the stuff that he says in relation to all that is just mind-blowing to me. It's just so the biggest thing other than like the episode to talk about is Tom Sandoval going on Howie Mandel's podcast. I don't remember the name of it. At the time I like watched it and everything, it had over 600, it was at like 666k views, 666, but like it was double, I don't even know if it's double, I really don't know how to do the math, but it has way more views than any other views on his podcast. They're generally between like 20 to 55k, which is still really great views, but 55k to like almost 700k. Insane. Also, side note, I found out Tom Sandoval also has a YouTube channel and he has like 3,000 subscribers. And I was like, oh my God, I have more subscribers on here than Tom Sandoval. I just found that funny. I've started seeing shorts from him pop up about like shorts and Sandies. And I'm not telling you guys this to go comment on his channel or anything like that. Do not go and harass him. So yes, anyway, I wanted to talk about this podcast. First of all, Howie says straight up that he did pretty much no research, nothing. He does actually, as the episode goes on, you do find out he does know a little bit about some things, like he's watched some videos and it's been explained to him a little bit, but overall he really hasn't looked at anything. He has a personal relationship with Tom Sandoval. They met at somebody's wedding. This person is actually the drummer from Tom's band, and this person's wife like works with Howie in some professional capacity. I honestly can't remember what it is, but they met at their friend's wedding and they both love and adore these people. So he has an existing like acquaintanceship with Tom Sandoval already. He kind of like throughout this episode multiple times says he doesn't understand why this is such a huge deal. Like people have done worse, and yes, it is true. People have done worse in the grand scheme of things, like 100%. I think the thing that he's not realizing is that the parasocial relationship here is very strong. Viewers have watched this for 10 years now. They've watched their entire relationship and now they feel very betrayed because they were very invested. He made his life a TV show. Now it is kind of crazy that it got on CNN and stuff like that, but you know, I don't want to say it was a slow news week because Donald Trump got arrested, but there have been more things going on at once than there normally were. So even though Howie didn't do a lot of research, his daughter Jackie is a huge fan of the show and is really into the Bravoverse and knows a lot about this and is a big fan. And so I thought, okay, well, he's probably going to let her ask a lot of questions and things like that and get clarification of things. And he's going to let her kind of have the floor a little bit more because she seems to know more about this topic. Wrong. That is not what happened. He barely let her talk sometimes and would talk over her when like she is the voice of the audience right now, not you, Howie. Just please, I know your name is on the podcast and everything, but we're not here for you. We're here for the tough hitting questions. And I feel like Jackie could have done that, but she was very held back. So the podcast starts off with Tom Sandoval not even in the room. And it's like this super awkward introduction where he like comes in and they keep asking people questions. He's trying to figure out where his mic is and stuff like that. And then they have like awkward conversations about sweaters and, you know, he plugs his band and how they know each other. And then they start to get into the drama. And, you know, like I said, Howie's just like, so what? Why is it such a big deal? Like, who cares? Once again, it's a very like nuanced situation, Howie. If you maybe had done a little more research and watching a couple TikToks and listening to your daughter make friends equations to it, you maybe would understand. So they do ask Sandoval about Schwartz's appearance. You know, he said he's not bad. They're really, everything he said was pretty accurate, except for he does clarify later that the plan that Schwartz said he had is actually not the plan that he had to break up with Ariana. It's so much worse. And I'm looking at my notes here because I took a lot. I wanted to remember everything because I watched it once and then I was like, I just am completely blanked out from like rage and exhaustion. Sandoval said he never dreamed this would happen. Nobody really does dream that this would happen. He worked so hard for his business, for his integrity. Integrity is what you do when nobody else is watching. It's when you are a good person when nobody else is watching. So you don't have any integrity and that is no one's fault but your own. You don't have that. He also says that he still loves and cares about Ariana but they just always lived like separate lives. They were more like roommates, best friends. You know, they had each other's back. They were just like a brand, but they never spent like time together. You know, they just were kind of like in this relationship to keep the optics of it up for like the show and branding purposes. Tom says that they were both depressed and anxious and that pushed them apart even more. If they weren't communicating very well, how does he really know what her feelings were? She hasn't spoken for herself yet, so I do want to know. But of course, it's also not my right to like, no. You know what I mean. So he said he was hitting 40 and he was accepting his relationship and their lack of intimacy because they were solid on other parts. But it didn't feel like romantic. It just felt like it was safe. But at 40, you know, he hit that old midlife crisis and he realized that, oh my God, all my best years are behind me and he needed to make a change. He needed to feel alive again. I hate when people say that, like, you're not dead. You could still like recreate that spark in a relationship. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, like my thought on on long-term relationships, whether you're married or not, it's all about choices. All about making choices towards the relationship. And if you don't see any choices in the relationship that are going to be fulfilling or safe for you, because obviously there are situations in relationships where it's just not a safe relationship. Obviously we need to get out of those. But like, relationships are about choices. He wasn't making choices to like work on this relationship. But he says like they would plan trips and they would go on separate vacations and everything, and they wouldn't check in with each other. So when the whole thing with Raquel happened, which he actually says was initially they were locked out of his house. They were in his backyard. It was just him and her, and they were by the fire pit or whatever. And they just kissed and he felt sparks. He felt alive again. She is a necromancer and brought him back to life. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm just going a little overboard. But that he was yearning for connection with somebody, and there she was. He tried to break up with Ariana so many times, but essentially she just like wouldn't let him. He plays on his mental health a lot, 'cause that's what people always do whenever they're caught in some like bad situation publicly, especially like cheating. I was in a poor mental health state. Like my mental health was so bad. Then deal with it like a healthy adult instead of sneaking around with a girl who's like almost half your age. Like I said, he also kind of like blames her for almost like not noticing, because he wasn't really like hiding it. He'd like be talking to her and FaceTiming and trying to spend time with her. But Ariana was just like such a neglectful girlfriend that she never noticed that he was cheating on her with her best friend. But then later he does also say that she did kind of see some warning signs. Which is it, Tom? So really, like, what I'm hearing in the first couple minutes is that Sandoval craved connection, but not with his girlfriend. He craved a connection with somebody else that wasn't her. It was even before the idea of having a connection with Raquel was on his mind. So if you don't want to be with her, then you leave her. That's when you leave her. That's when you break up. That's when you say, I don't want to continue building this life with you. I'm gonna bounce. We'll figure out the house situation. Not when you start having feelings for somebody else. He also like randomly called Raquel like witty. He was like listing all these attributes off and he said she was witty, and I was like, I guess it's Sandoval. Jackie asked a good question, because we can see that like Sandoval kind of like pushed Schwartz and Raquel together a little bit too, kind of like with Sheena. And she says, were you trying to like cock block yourself? And he says, no, I wasn't trying to do that. I just really liked both of them, and I really thought it'd be cool if they dated, because then all four of us could go on double dates. So you wanted this girl to date your best friend, and if you guys still cheated like you did, not only would you be cheating on your girlfriend, but then also you'd be hurting your best friend and she'd be cheating on him too. Fantastic idea, Tom. He's so smart. So then a couple days after the guys' night is when they did the whole backyard smooches fest, and that was also right before the pool party that we saw at their house, so that's like so gross. They had made out in his backyard, and then Raquel's walking around, and she was being all like smug inside of like, I made out here with Sandoval, and it was like so hot. And Ariana has no idea. It's my little secret. Sandoval says he didn't really enjoy the sneaking around, but I feel like it did add a little bit extra to the rush, and I feel like Raquel probably enjoyed it a little bit. She seems like somebody who's kind of manipulative enough to like enjoy that sort of thing. He also says in the relationship with Ariana, he was always the one to apologize. She never apologized for anything. He always had to apologize. He said towards the end, he always felt like she was really annoyed with him. And I can see why. I mean, you remember that one year where he had like the most ridiculous, like multi-tone hair and like weird braids. He looked so bad, and she stuck by him with that. Then he talks about, after he did kiss Raquel, he got into therapy. Because he basically became obsessed with her. He said Tom was right. It did become kind of like a drug to me. He says they also started to go to couples therapy with Ariana, and he said in couples therapy, he started working to lay the groundwork for breaking up with Ariana. His plan was to break up with Ariana in couples therapy with the therapist there to basically like help him break up with her. Like, he is such a loser. He can't even break up with somebody himself. He has to like have a therapist help him. I mean, honestly, it screams season 1 Real Housewives, where Joe and Slade broke up in therapy, and Joe was like, he broke up with me on a couch. Iconic. If you know, you know. But she even said at one point, if you're trying to break up with me, this is a very expensive way to break up with me. He said after the kiss, they also tried to hold back from each other and not fall into that trap of developing more feelings for each other, but it just didn't work out. They just loved each other so much. They were just so drawn to each other. He didn't say love, but they were really drawn. It's very magnetic. Tom said in one therapy session, couples therapy, he said, hypothetically, if we broke up, what would you do? She said, I would not go to the reunion. I would quit the show. I would back out of the sandwich shop and I would move back home and I would delete all my social media and I would not be involved in all this. And he was very upset about that. He said, this is so infuriating because everyone puts their lives on the show. Katie and Tom got a divorce. Like, Raquel and James broke off their engagement, and like, we don't share that sort of stuff. Well, I guess you got your wish on that one, Tom. But then Tom says something else that was interesting. He said towards the end of the relationship, it seemed like Ariana did a complete 180. She seemed to be a lot more caring and supportive and listening to him and being like, oh my God, what you're saying is really smart. You're right. That makes sense. And him being like, what? Oh my God. Like, you think I'm smart? He was starting to get that endorphin and oxytocin and serotonin rush from interactions with Ariana again, but now it's too late because he's been cheating on her with her friend for so long. And what it sounds like is that Ariana was actually seeing that, wow, my relationship is really crumbling. We're in couples therapy. And she was using the tools that were being provided in therapy to fight for her relationship because it was important to her. But Tom was using therapy as a different tool. Instead of using it as a tool to help strengthen and rebuild his relationship with Ariana, he was actually using it as a tool to break up with her. He was literally just going to therapy so he could break up with her. It's so friggin' weird. Like, she's fighting for the relationship and he's already moved on with Raquel. Jackie also asked, looking back, hindsight 2020, when do you think was the right time to break up with her? And he says, oh, there was never a right time. Do you really think there's a right time? She's like, yeah, before you develop feeling for somebody. When you're feeling these feelings of emptiness and you're feeling unfulfilled in your relationship and you're having these conversations that are not working out, maybe that's the time to leave, or the time to get into couples therapy. Because maybe if he had started having these conversations with Ariana before and then the couples therapy, they'd be in a totally different spot now and be even better and more successful now than they were ever before. But honestly, I'm glad that the dead weight's gone for her. The living situation is kind of crazy though, because they're still living in the same house and they have a go-between that they text, and they text what time they're going to use the gym, or when they're going to go downstairs, or if one of them's going to be out of town for a while. And the house is big enough that they are in separate rooms and everything. But it's crazy they just have a go-between. They will be putting the house on the market soon, obviously, but the two of them are very busy. She's filming a movie and maybe doing Dancing with the Stars, and he's going on tour. They're a little busy. He has an assistant though. Why don't they just work on handling all of that? Or get a lawyer, because I feel like you probably need a lawyer to help you with the dividing of the asset of this home. Even though it's not a real divorce, there is that aspect there. I don't really know much about real estate and stuff like that, but I would think that'd probably at least be a little helpful. Now, Howie asks about Raquel, if they're still seeing each other or what's going on there, and he says they are really good friends. They are taking a break right now. I think that means she's at her wellness retreat, but they're not going to put a label on it. These two are too much. And Tom has this weird thing in his head where he's separating these two relationships. He says two things happened here: the ending of a relationship and an affair. And he's separating, compartmentalizing these two things in their head when they overtwine. One is a cause and effect of the other, because he was already so checked out of this relationship that he moved into this affair, and then when this affair was found out, this relationship ended. So they're not two separate things. They go together like peanut butter and jelly now. But Tom says that 2 weeks before Ariana even found the video, they were broken up. He broke up with her. They talked about it. He said, look, we can keep quiet about it because they had a major brand deal with I'm assuming it was a brand deal with alcohol of some kind, because it's a mixology thing. Still hate that he forced himself into her mixology book. And that they would keep it quiet to at least get that brand deal through and everything. He said that she was really upset and that she hit him and everything, but then she calmed down. And I'm just whoa, dude, you're just gonna randomly throw that out there that she allegedly hit you and just move past it. Then he says a few days later, they spoke after she calmed down. She said that she wouldn't let him leave her. He was gonna have to force her out of the relationship. And he is acting like he was so scared. He paints this as she was having a total single white female breakdown, psychosis sort of thing, and that she was really delusional. Whereas I see it as she's made the choice that she's fighting for this relationship. You said that she did a 180 in therapy. She's putting forth the work and she wants to continue to fight for it. But instead he's oh my God, she went crazy and wouldn't believe that we broke up. He also said that she said, if you break up with me, you will essentially be ending my life. And then later he paints it as saying she would unalive herself if he broke up with her, when that's not actually what she's saying here. What that says to me is she's referring more to the fact that she's built this entire life with him here, far away from her family, done all this, built all this up, and it would bring all of that crashing down. That is the proverbial end of my life. I don't read that as I'm going to unalive myself, but he does say that later in this. He says that she threatened that kind of stuff. So they were broken up the night of the show when she found it, and he said it was weird because right before they left, she started talking about fertilizing her eggs, and he was like, what? No, we're broken up. That's weird. And Tom even said that he called the showrunner and was like explaining to them that they were having issues and that he didn't think it was fair that they were not sharing these issues, and that's why as we go through this season we'll see more of these issues come to light. So did he tell one of the showrunners that he actually was already having an affair with Raquel too, and that's why clues are starting to pop up? So Tom wraps it up as saying like he's been in a dark place, which I don't doubt that. It seems like he's been in a dark place for a very long time according to him. He's mental health struggles. He's been drinking a lot, but at the time of this interview he was 4 days sober. I think that has ended since. Calls out like all of his friends for like doing podcasts and like, you know, turning on him and everything. Tom does also say he's not obligated to go back next season, but I feel like he probably will because that paycheck is going to be huge and the ratings are going to be massive. And I mean, if he's going to get mad at Ariana for potentially leaving the show because of the breakup, because everybody shares what happens with them on the show, then he should stay too. Then in the end, they decide that Tom is too recognizable with his mustache, so they shave it off. Howie starts to. I was surprised that Howie did it because he's a very big germaphobe, but he did put on gloves. And he only got like some of his mustache off because the electric razor died, and then Tom shaved the other half, so now Tom is a whole new man. Basically, Tom shifts a lot of blame and also puts a lot of blame on his own mental health struggles. That's kind of like people's excuse for anytime they do anything super shitty. Surprise, surprise. All right, now let's get into the episode. It starts where we left off with Raquel and Schwartz making out and everybody cheering, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe we're like, everybody's looking at us. You're in the middle of a pool on a table, like you're on full display of everybody. And at this point, Raquel and Sandoval have already made out at Sandoval's house, but apparently Schwartz doesn't know this. Sandoval clarified he didn't know at the time, but Schwartz said that he asked Sandoval, and Sandoval said no, it hadn't happened yet. And Raquel says in the confessional, like, I like him, maybe this could be something. That right there just screamed like try-hard fangirl, like, I'm just gonna move through everybody. I had James and Peter, and maybe like this could be like my next big thing in here. Katie, Christina, Kelly, Lala, James, and Allie, they were at dinner. They did not see any of this happen, and they actually leave. So I don't even know if they hear everybody cheering or not. And then when they get into Lala's room, as soon as they sit down, Sheena calls them, well, she calls Lala specifically, and on speaker, at first like asks her like, I thought you were coming to dinner, and Lala's like, yeah, I just got really tired and came back to my room, and she's like, whatever, we can talk about that later. Did you see Schwartz and Raquel make out? Katie is in the room and hears all of this. James is in the room and hears all this. He gets very upset about his ex-fiance. You can tell it's making Allie like uncomfortable. Her jaw drops though. She's like, what? Sheena says she did not see it. She just wanted to see if they saw it because other people are telling her this. Says, get confirmation and call me back. And literally almost right away, Sheena bumps into Brock, her husband, because we find out that she's actually been married to him for a year already, which fine, do whatever you need to do. He saw it though, and they call Lala back and he confirms like, yeah, we saw it. We just want him to be happy. That's why we all cheered. I don't think he knew that Katie was on the phone and heard that. I don't think he would have said that if he knew Katie was listening. Or maybe, I don't know. Katie is devastated. She feels like she's been kicked in the gut, punched in the face, and her and Christina Kelly leave and go to their room. James and Lala talk a lot of stuff about Raquel, about his ex-fiance, and Allie doesn't like it. She calls them both disgusting and leaves, and James follows her. Back at Sheena and Brock's suite, it is a still full-on party. Now, Sheena, Ariana, and Raquel are sitting at the bar. They're all sitting there. They are wasted. They look so smashed. And then Tom Sandoval starts getting in Raquel's face and is like repeating her name in a weird way. And Ariana, you can already see before the camera even like focuses on her that she is irritated by what he's doing. And he's like, what? I'm just saying her name because she made out with Schwartz. And that sobered Ariana right up. She whipped her head around and she said, you did what? I need the details like now. And she is just blown away. She cannot believe that happened. And when Ariana hears that people cheered, she like covers her face because she knows that Katie is gonna be devastated. And Katie is her business partner. So I can tell that she is, in this moment, she's feeling a lot for Katie right now. But Raquel is her friend too, so she's not really sure where to stand with it. And then they all go like skinny dipping or like swimming and everything. And you know, the clips in like the mid-season trailer and stuff made it seem like there would be a lot more scenes with this pool scene, and there really wasn't. I feel like they just took a bunch of random clips and put it in there. there. Then Lala goes to Katie and Christina Kelly's room and gets in bed with him, and they're all just like sitting in bed with their clothes on. Is this like something that people do? They like hang out with their friends in bed. I never really did that, or like if I sat on their bed, I didn't get under their covers with them, but I don't know, maybe I need to start doing that with my friends. Maybe that's like the better way to hang out. They talk about how hurt Katie is by this, literally doing this not only with somebody that she expressed that she didn't want this to happen with, but also in front of essentially thousands of people, because they know it's going to be on television too, not just this entire wedding party is going to see it, everyone's going to see this. So like the level of public humiliation is just adds extra salt to the wound for Katie, which I get. The next day we get a lot of B-roll. James and Allie are going down a lazy river. It looks so fun. Christina Kelly and Katie are gonna go chill by the pool, and Sheena and Raquel, Courtney, and Ariana is gonna join them later. They go to a spa. It seems like a lot more people were supposed to go, but they didn't. But the spa looks amazing. It's in a cave. They go and they make their own body scrubs. It all looks so cool. Like I honestly, I just want to go to the spa. It's beyond epic. Sheena then tells all of them that she's pretty disappointed that Lala has really not been coming to any of the events. And she's like, is Lala even gonna come to the wedding at this point? Because she's not here. She wasn't at the party last night. That was the biggest event. Then they all bring up Raquel and Schwartz making out. And Raquel brings up, what if she walks down the aisle with Schwartz instead of who she's walking with? This is Joey. And they actually call Schwartz and ask, and Schwartz is like, yeah, I'll walk down the aisle with you, knowing full well that that is gonna piss Katie off even more. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And in confessional, Ariana's like, wow, I think she might actually like him. No, girl, she's just being manipulative. Watch out. So then James and Allie are chilling by the pool, and Schwartz comes up and asks to join them. He acts confused about the previous night, like, oh, I made out with Raquel, what? Yeah, I did that. I'm sorry about that. He says that like Katie is just like, essentially she's overreacting, and James is like, no, dude, I'm sure you're like dead to her now, like for good reason. Schwartz tries to paint it to James as like, no, I wasn't trying to get with your ex-fiance. I was really trying to stick it to Katie, you know, stick it to the man, you know what I mean? And James said like, well, did it make you happy then? Do you feel good after making out with my, you know, ex-fiance? And he said, well, yeah, Schwartz said for a time. Oh my God, that's like so bad. And Schwartz uses some like fairy tale analogy for this. James like essentially just does not want to hear any of Schwartz's excuses or anything. And Schwartz actually tries to bring Allie in the conversation. He says like, Allie, back me up here. Like, who? No, don't talk to her. She's not part of this. You don't get to ask his girlfriend to back you up when you're just a jerk. The lack of self-awareness that Schwartz has sometimes astounds me. So back in Beverly Hills, we do get to visit Lisa in her beautiful home. She has Greg, the Tom's business partner, over and asks, like, she gets down into business pretty quick. She says, are you guys gonna be able to open by the 31st? He says, no, they've gone to Mexico and we still need A, B, C, D, E, F, and G done. And she says, look, all right, I'm gonna call them right now. We're gonna get them on track. We're gonna get this place open as soon as possible. We're gonna get open by the 31st. He says, I can't really promise that, but if you want to try for it, I mean, if we're able to make it work, we will, but I don't see that happening. Back in Cancun, Schwartz goes to wake Sandoval up at 2 p.m. and conveniently, that's when Lisa FaceTimes and gets on their asses about, you gotta actually get this stuff together and make it work because you have people depending on you. Then we see Lala visiting Sheena, and you know, them talking about the previous night of like, why wasn't Lala at this event? Why is she not going to any of the wedding events? Lala says Raquel reminds her of all of the guys, or all the girls rather, that Randall would hook up with, and it's just really triggering to be around her. And Lala is now also triggered for Katie in this sense too. She says, look, like, Sheena, your wedding is the most important thing to you, but other people have other things going on and it's not the most important thing to them. Meaning your wedding is not the most important thing to me. I mean, it's like, it's true, it's not the most important thing to everybody there at the resort. Some people aren't even there for Sheena's wedding, but if you're there for Sheena's wedding, it should be one of the most important things. That's really part of why you booked this whole vacation, unless you're Katie. So while it might be like truthful, like it was still kind of hurtful. And then they go their separate ways. Then everybody gets ready and they go to an hibachi dinner, and it made me incredibly hungry and wanting hibachi so bad, but my local hibachi place closed. I could not believe it. They're gone. So oddly enough, Schwartz and Raquel are sitting next to each other at the hibachi dinner, and then who sits next to them but James and Allie. So James and Schwartz are sitting next to each other. That was definitely planned. And James decides to start calling out Raquel for basically infiltrating his friend group and just, you know, being a makeout bandit and making out with like multiple people and like who's she gonna make out with next. And Schwartz was kind of sticking to like, look, we're platonic. We don't really have like a thing, like nothing to worry about. And then in the confessional, Raquel's like, oh wow, I thought he like liked me, but I guess not. That kind of hurts. She's like, well, he's like minimizing everything. Well, welcome to Katie's world. James and Raquel continue to argue for a little bit, and Raquel brings up, you know, like how quickly he moved on with Allie after they broke up. And Allie just kind of looks like she wants to disappear like Homer Simpson in the bush. So she actually does. She says she's gonna go say goodbye to Katie and who is she with? Katie, Christina Kelly, and Lala. They are in the lobby bar. They're actually been going off resort to go to dinner, but they were just grabbing a drink there. So she's gonna say bye to them, and James jokes like, don't get kidnapped by them. But you can tell by the laughter that they both want to be kidnapped by that crew and just get out of here. So she finds them and she sits down and kind of like fills them in on the seating arrangement, and I'm sure like fills them in a little more about what happened. But it seems like she's there for a while, and basically Allie missed the entire dinner because then James comes out with her dinner on the plate, and that's really nice of him. He brought the whole plate and everything. And then success, they do get to be kidnapped. But before they go, they notice everybody is actually like the dinner's ending and they're coming out to the bar that they are. So they're like, we gotta book it. There's Sandoval. And then they see Schwartz. And Schwartz decides he wants to talk to Katie and tries to. And Lala just shuts it down. She's like, no, now's not the time. She does not want to talk to you. She is not happy with you. You need to just stop. She shuts it down. They leave and they go to a restaurant that is literally in a cave. And once Katie gets out her initial like anger about Schwartz and everything, they seem to have like a good dinner. They're like laughing. They're laughing about Lala's sex life. Then I'm assuming it's like the morning before the wedding, Sheena and some of the bridesmaids are chilling on the couch in her room, and she reveals that, yeah, actually Brock and I have already been married for a year, which I think, you know, it makes sense. They have a daughter already, and he is an immigrant, so she probably want to get married sooner rather than later to make sure that he's not deported. So this is basically like their 1 year anniversary. You know, whatever, like my husband and I did like a small ceremony. Ours was like right before COVID, and then we didn't get to do the ceremony because of COVID, and we just haven't gone back and revisited it yet. So someday we'll do like a vow renewal thing. Also, in this little hangout powwow, Raquel says, look, I don't want to walk with Schwartz. Can you like switch me back with Joey? Because Schwartz walks so awkward and weird, and her attraction, oddly enough, to Schwartz is overridden by her pageant girlness and having to do a better walk than what Schwartz was doing, because we did see clips of them rehearsing and it was terrible. All right, now it is the big day. They are getting married, and honestly, it goes off with pretty much without a hitch. It starts, and the two Ks, Christina, Kelly, and Katie are like, let's go to the balcony and watch. And actually, they're like very nice about it. They're like, oh, it's really pretty. Like, oh, I love the song. Like, they enjoyed watching it. And I think like now that Katie and Sheena are starting to get to a better place, like they'll probably be joking like, you know, even maybe in a year of like, well, you were kind of at my wedding, you know, like that kind of thing. And I have to say, like, their daughter was such a cute little flower girl. She's so adorable. Sheena also looks beautiful, and the K's agree. But poor Sheena's veil did not get the memo that we are at a windy beach in Mexico, and it started to just blow all over the place because she had like a really, really long train. So they took it off when she got to the altar, and Sheena reflects on like this wedding versus her previous wedding of like, she just feels more comfortable, relaxed, she's more excited, as opposed to with her ex. It was a very stressful drama, like everything had to be perfect. It just wasn't enjoyable, and this has been nothing but an amazing experience for her and Brock and like their entire family. Then after the wedding, Raquel and Schwartz talk about Katie and how she is mad, and they kind of like joke and stuff, but like that they're just gonna stay friends. And then we get a bunch of reception footage, and I think People Magazine is actually here like taking pictures, because I did see like pictures on people.com. We still call it People Magazine because like they do make a magazine still, right? I think they had exclusive photos. Anyway, so then it is also the last night. Lala is at the wedding and at the reception. So the K's go to like a little sushi place nearby. You know, they're kind of disappointed that it's her last night. Christina Kelly asks Katie, like, basically in hindsight, if you knew how the trip was gonna go down, would you have come on this trip still? And Katie's like, oh God, no, I would not have come here. Well, Katie, you could have avoided all this in the first place by just not coming, period. Like, did she really think this was gonna be like a drama-free vacation? It's somebody else's wedding. And then who walks into this restaurant but Schwartz? Schwartz somehow tracked them down and has come to try and talk to Katie and sit at their table. If looks could kill, he would have literally been eviscerated like when Thanos just like zapped everybody out of existence. And I'm sure Katie would have loved to do that. Shorts is like, I don't want there to be tension. Well, Shorts, maybe if you like didn't make out with somebody in their friend group, specifically Raquel, there wouldn't be any tension. Katie says, look, we're done. This is over. Not only did you cross the one like line that I gave you, but you publicly humiliated me in front of everybody in every possible way you could. It says like, I didn't realize so many people were watching. Once again, like I said, you guys were on full display in the middle of a pool at a table set up. Everybody was watching you. Come on. It was like center stage. And they argue back and forth for like a couple seconds before Katie just tells him to get out of her face and leave. She calls him a loser drunk and he starts just like throwing insults and leaves. What a mess. Get more of Scheana's wedding and then Tom realizing, wow, what it really means to be divorced, that he can't go to Katie and lean on her and their relationship isn't the same. No shit. Then we get a conversation between Raquel and Lala, and Raquel apologizes to Lala about what she said at the pool party, calling her like a mistress bimbo or whatever, and she says, I was just lashing out because I felt like you guys were judging me in Vegas. Lala says, we weren't judging you. You were doing some crazy things, and they start arguing, and Raquel says that, you know, her, Lala, and those other girls need to get a hobby. Lala says, look, no, I don't need to get a hobby. I don't care about a hobby. What I care about is how you have affected my friend Katie by making out with her ex-husband. And Lala says, you need help because you obviously just seek validation in men, and that's no way to live. Lala was right, because after this whole Sandoval broke, Raquel pretty much said the exact same thing, that she is getting help because she seeks validation in men. I feel like she just took that from Lala. What's also funny is they're having this like little argument at a table, and at first I noticed there really wasn't much around them, but then from a certain shot you can see like all of the resort staff like packing up all the tables and getting everything out of the way while these two girls are arguing, and there's like all these cameras around them. It's gotta be so awkward to be doing that stuff. And then one of the last things I made notes about is before they leave, the K's go to a bar and Katie says, you know, I've been hooking up. There's like 2 guys that I've hooked up with, and I've actually been kind of seeing this one guy a little bit more than just like random hookups. So you know what? If Tom is gonna go and make out with Raquel in front of everybody, I'm not gonna hide if I'm seeing anybody, and I'm gonna bring this guy around. I'm gonna bring him out and about. And she's like, he's 25, I'm 36. She says, you know, I'm 36 though, I'm not a cougar yet, I'm a puma. I didn't know that was a thing. And then the episode like officially ends with like more clips from Scheana and Brock's wedding. So congratulations to those two. Their wedding is beautiful and they seem extremely happy together. I have actually watched quite a bit of Scheana's vlogs and stuff like that, and they just seem like a really great family, and I'm really happy for them. It's cute. I love it. I love wedding. Yeah, that was the episode and all of the drama recap. It was so much. But remember, next week we are going to start seeing more hints that the affair is really happening. So stay tuned for that. I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of drama in between now and then, so maybe it won't be as long of a video, but we'll see. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Laters. Bye.